There it is. All right. Noel.
David.
Hey, thanks for showing up.
Yeah.
Good. We got the microphone set here. We got the DJ controller. We got the second monitor up there for our little chat here. I'm not going to care about that computer monitor in the way. There's really nothing we can do about that. Okay, we got the chat there. So if there's anybody who wants to drop a question for Noel, any of the 2 or 3 people in the stream, you're welcome to do that. Hey, first off, thank you for being my first guest. Can I start out here by running down some options for the name of this new show on Twitch?
Sure.
Right.
Yes.
So you kind of. Oh, I'm sorry. I should introduce you. Noel Wan. You are a professor of harp and entrepreneurship.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Generally a young identifying person. A cool identifying? Are you identifying as cool?
I did advertise this as 2 cool cats and a harp, and posted a photo of my 2 cats playing with my harp.
Right, right. Yeah, no harp in
So,
here. We do have
yeah.
the 2 cats and the 2 cats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, how do you feel about the umlaut over the E?
Well, so it's on my birth certificate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, like, my parents don't speak French or anything. They just, I don't know, I think probably the doctor was like, you just put the, because in France, like, it's very common to see Noel with the accent on the
Sure,
E's.
yeah.
So I've just kept it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not tied to it. Sometimes if I'm lazy, I'll sign my emails without it.
Okay, right on. Well, I'm asking because as I'm doing things like on Instagram, typing your name into like...
Oh, yeah, you can leave it off. Like, I'm not...
You're not too, yeah. Because like I know like the New Yorker... They love the umlaut. If there's 2 E's in a row, they're going to put an umlaut over that second E.
Yeah, part of their like their rules for it's like specific style guide.
Yeah, but you're not like super partisan about the umlaut. Yeah. Okay, great. Now that we got the introductions out of the way, I've got some questions for you because this is a new show. You're the first guest. If a show is going to be like an interview show where you talk to people about music that they care about, and then you get them to DJ with that music. Also, given my last name is Knapp. What's like a good name you think for this show? I've come up with a tentative name that I'm naming this for this episode.
I mean, isn't your social media handle already Dr. Disco Nap?
Dr. Disco Nap is my social media handle.
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
That I just came up with like 3 months ago.
Like plays on the word nap. I don't think my pop culture reference knowledge is strong enough to come up with something.
So I've got some friends that convinced me that I should call this space the Knappsack.
That would work. Yes.
Okay. So I shouldn't abandon that. I should stick with Knappsack.
Yeah, you could keep that.
Okay.
I think.
Okay, but how about the show? I asked ChatGPT this question: what should I name this show? And it gave me some options. And go ahead and rank them from best to worst. Okay. Let's say like 5. I'll give you 5 examples. Spin and chat.
Do I have to rank them yet?
Yeah, you got to rank them right now.
But how do I know?
Without even knowing, well, you don't. You just gotta guess.
That one to me is 5 because it's so generic.
So 5 being really bad. Okay, got
yeah.
you. Yeah. Knapsack's Groove Talk.
Oh, that's 1 for sure.
That's really good.
It's funny. It's like ironic. I don't know.
It's ironically okay.
Well, again, like this is reflecting various different generations' sense of humor, right?
Okay.
So far that's a 1 for me.
Wow, was not expecting that. Well, this is a little bit awkward because this next one is what I'm
your favorite?
naming this episode, the spin cycle.
That would work too. I think it has less. I don't know. There's something about what was it? Something about groove talk, disco nap.
Knapsack's Groove Talk.
Knappsack's Groove Talk is like very like no one else will name their show that.
Right. So just in terms of IP, like
yes,
this is
in terms
good.
of IP, you could be, I don't know. Spin Cycle could be a sub show of generally.
Okay. DJ Diaries.
Is that like Princess Diaries?
So that's where your mind goes?
Yes.
Okay, so here's another one, and I know I was going to give 5, and I've already gone past 5. So
I haven't ranked. Okay, I forgot to rank. So DJ, okay, Spin Cycle, that's pretty good. It makes me think of Laundry, though, I think. Which, is that meant to be a play on?
No, although, hey, what's up, David Dockin? My wife suggested that we actually fold laundry. Okay, hold that thought. There's a follow-up question here, is what gimmick should I have to go along with this? Which then means that you could implicate that into the name. So Spin Cycle would be great if the gimmick was I had us DJing, talking about music, and folding my laundry.
Or you could put in a load of laundry.
The show is as long as it takes to...
Yes, and then, so depending on what you're putting into your laundry machine. And then if there could be an after show, if you wanted to go that direction of folding laundry.
Okay.
So then it's like generating more content ideas for you.
Okay. So when I said DJ Diaries, you thought Princess Diaries.
Well, because that's my generation. I grew up.
Well, I mean, your generation is like the generation now.
Of people getting increasingly less cool, right? I can't keep up with my students anymore.
All right, so this might also be your generation, or it might be my generation, but Behind the Decks.
That might be your generation. I don't know. So what is that supposed to reference?
Well, I just realized this screen over here is we got audio, so we're gonna mute. We're gonna mute you. I don't even know how to do that. There we go. Boom. Done. Okay, so you don't watch a lot of trashy reality TV, or else you would know.
No, I don't.
So this is Below Decks. Below the Deck.
Are you talking about
the
that Star Trek show?
No.
Oh no, that's called because my husband watches that. What is that called? Lower Decks, I think.
Lower Decks. That's right. Yeah, Lower Decks.
Okay,
no, this is a reality show where you have like all the. I mean, David, come on, man, you must watch Below the Decks, whatever it's called. Anyway, it's like all the ship hands on like rich yachts and all the drama that goes on.
Okay.
Anyway, that's a very popular reality TV show. So Behind the Decks is a little bit like Below Deck.
I feel like this would also go over like Gen Z, like our students' heads too, because I don't know how much trashy reality. Like I feel like trashy reality TV was the time, like the 2000, like early 2000s, like peak. I don't know, like Real Housewives, or not early 2000s, but like 2000s, the aughts, and then now we're in the 2020s. There's like too many shows almost.
Yeah.
There's not enough of a meta narrative.
That's a problem in society in general that will relate to the music conversation that I swear we're going to have in a moment. But there's no clear zeitgeist because everything is so fractured.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's definitely true that our students do not watch enough trashy reality TV.
It's exhausting.
By it's exhausting, you mean when I show up to class and I try to engage them to talk to me about the most recent episode of Love is Blind and they don't have anything to say about it? Is that what you mean when you say that?
Or they're like, it's too much of an emotional roller coaster. I don't know. Like, I think I have kind of watched, I guess this isn't really trashy, but Netflix had released this like glass blowing show that was clearly just like another version of like Great British Bake Off, like that.
Yeah.
And that was actually cool to watch, but it was a little trashy in the sense that it felt kind of mindless. But I have watched, I remember watching one season of The Bachelor when Juan Pablo was The Bachelor, and there was actually an opera singer. And the only reason, my friends and I were committed to watching it was there was an opera singer on it, and she stayed until a certain point, and then she ended up leaving the show of her own volition because she essentially said that Juan Pablo was too stupid for her.
Oh wow.
He was too much of a hot dumb person. So I watched that, and I've watched Love Island. I've watched one season of that.
Oh, that's great.
Extremely trashy. But other than that,
So you weren't hooked. You saw one episode of trashy TV.
It was a lot. It was just a lot. It's a lot of drama, and I'm personally just not someone who likes to engage. I don't know. I like to gossip now and then, but I just can't deal with too many emotional people. And I'm just solve it. Get your shit together.
Hey, counterpoint, if you do it on a terrible TV show, in which you have no relationships with the people, then it's a way of sort of like exorcising it out of your own life.
Yeah, yes. I don't think I have enough drama in my own life, though. I keep a pretty, like, drama-free lifestyle.
That's good. Okay, hey, so let's get back to the show name, and we didn't really come up with the show name that we think is it, except you really liked.
Well, I liked the Knappsack
Groove Talk.
Well, the only reason for that is I think, like, you have a personal style, and I think for me, when I hear the word groove talk, like, I would associate that most strongly with you as an individual.
Wow,
whereas
that is
like,
such a compliment.
well, whereas like, well, I mean, you've got like the fanny pack and like the glass. I don't know, and the mustache. Like, I feel like it's very. It's like 70s stash kind of situation, 80s stash.
Groovy, yeah.
Yeah, whereas Spin Cycle, I think the pros of Spin Cycle is the fact that you could have, there's like more concept in the show itself that you could explore, but it has less of like a strong brand.
Right.
So you could have...
It doesn't map onto me.
Yeah, so I think it could be that the show is called Spin Cycle, but you separately, you have to take on a persona.
Okay.
Of... I don't know. You could just be still a Dr. Discona.
Right. But like the way that Gordon Ramsay shows up differently in different cooking shows.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, you need to have a persona, like you in the classroom, although maybe it could be consistent that, you in the classroom, you on a Twitch stream, you at a conference.
Right.
Different,
I think my Twitch stream persona is going to be like Gordon Ramsay in the American version of Kitchen Nightmares.
Which is more brutal?
So brutal, really personal ad hominem comments about like people's appearances that have nothing to do with the food itself, just being really mean-spirited.
That seems off-brand for you, but...
Yeah, I'll have to... okay, but one thing that I'm thinking though is that this show needs a gimmick. And I've got some ideas, but you're a smart person, relatively young. You have entrepreneurship in your title, so you're like the person to tell me like to green light something or red light something. Okay. What if I just had like a small little popcorn machine in the back, and we just like hung out and eat popcorn?
But what happened to the laundry? Wasn't that our gimmick?
Well, there's a problem with laundry in that there's no laundry machine here. I feel like am I supposed to bring my laundry from home?
You can ask our dean for a laundry machine.
Also, I think it would be maybe a little bit awkward for my colleagues to be folding all of my laundry.
Well, it doesn't have to be. Well, I don't know. You can have like prop laundry, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
So laundry never gets washed. I just use the same like white, like t-shirts get folded.
Yeah,
every
I
time.
suppose there's a problem. There's also no like water. Like, there's no way to connect into any.
Listen, we just need to get rid of the name Spin Cycle and move on to something else. And I think we need to find a name.
The other thing that I thought of when I heard Spin Cycle was like spin class.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
So I was like, do we need to be like on spin bikes?
That is a great idea. Let's get a couple of Pelotons in here. We can do that and then go like just get your heart rate up and then immediately jump onto you playing a musical instrument that you've never touched before.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, great.
So that's our gimmick.
Okay. So you don't think it's worth pursuing the idea of getting a popcorn machine?
I mean, we could have that too.
And then we could call it like Beat Pops.
No, I think.
No?
Is that supposed to be a play on words?
Yeah. I mean, it's not supposed to be. It was, Pop, beats pop, popcorn pops.
Yeah, maybe. I feel, or like something with pop music.
Right.
I feel that would work a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, listen. You can reach out to me.
Your next guest can help flesh this out.
Yeah, maybe by the end of season 1 we'll have like a final idea.
Yeah.
Okay, let's pivot away from you helping me with this nascent show that's beginning this episode. I'd say we're at like an 8 out of 10 in terms of our Rotten Tomatoes rating so far.
Sure.
Is this going all right?
Yeah, we need to get some reviewers.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Not just ourselves. So let's move on to talking about you and music. And I guess I'm interested in you and music at like the personal listening preferential level, which is maybe the same thing as you as a professional musician. Maybe there's a lot of overlap. I know for myself, there has in the past been a lot of overlap between the music that I listened to and the music that I made. I was a high school steel band teacher, so for a long time I listened to like nothing but calypso and soca. So there's a blending of the personal and professional. But then I think about the music that I cared about when I was younger. So here's my first question to you. What is the first example of music that you thought was really yours?
Like identifying with it or making it?
Yeah, that you identified with. Like,
Okay.
Like music that you listened to that you felt like, hey, this is me. This is what I'm about.
Well, so when I was really young, so I actually play multiple instruments, though now not well anymore. So harp was my first instrument. I also played piano, and then I played the Chinese violin, the erhu. And so when I was really young, like in my parents' like parents' house, we didn't listen to that many different kinds of music. It was like classical, and then sometimes like they would listen to like old Taiwanese pop music. My parents are Taiwanese, and because they were at the time like evangelical Christians, so also like praise band music. And then the last thing though was like Chinese folk style like classical music too. Mm-hmm. So with all these classical Chinese instruments, and I love listening to that stuff. I don't know why, but I think there was this like emotional tenor to it that I really related to. It's like a lot of really passionate music. And I was like, I don't know, like 3 or 4. Like I had no idea, but it's just something about it that like I just would listen to it over and over again. And I really like, some people find the erhu have a really annoying sound because it's really nasal and right. Sharp. But there's also, I mean, like the technique of it, there's a vibrato, and it's present in a lot of like Chinese string instruments. So when you do this vibrato, it really sounds like a person crying. So there was like one particular song I remember listening to as a child. My mom likes to tell the story as like, this is why Noel decided to become, or like had talent as a musician. But there was one song I remember really loving it, and the story's really sad. It's about a woman whose husband gets like shipped off to be part of the Great Wall building crew, and they had just gotten married, and of course like he's left her now and she's by herself, and then she finds out he's died, and so she's like sitting by the river crying because she's lost her husband. And again, I was only like 4 at the time, so I had no idea what any of that actually meant. But my mom likes to like tell people, oh, Noelle would listen to this music, and she'd, even though like she knew nothing about what was going on, she'd ask me like, why is the woman crying, or like why does it sound like someone's crying? So that kind of sense of just relating to the emotional, like the affect of a sound. And I think that has always stayed with me, because I think even now as someone who makes music, or I'm a performer, that I'm always drawn to music that makes me feel something really specific. And it's usually not a happy emotion. It's like something nostalgic or melancholy, like things on the more, I guess, like emo side. And, even some of the tracks that I picked for today, like sometimes it sounds like noise, but to me, like I hear like something in there that I'm like, oh, I just want to like lie in my bed in the dark and like listen to it. So yeah, so that like recording of this erhu virtuoso when I was 4 years old, that I think would be the moment that like I kind of felt something that I could relate to as a listener.
Does timbre mean a lot to you?
Timbre?
Yeah.
It can. I think timbre. I don't know. I not like specifically. So I went through this whole phase that I'm in and out of, where I love listening to soul music, because just like, again, there's like a lot of emotional like heft in it, and there's like specific voices. I love like a contralto. There's an artist, singer, Layla Hathaway, the daughter of the great Donny Hathaway. Like she has this amazing like deep contralto voice that I really love listening to, more than like people with a thinner like soprano range. So I don't know if it's timbre, but it's like the general, I guess I would call it like the thickness of sound. And even as a harpist, like I always talk to my students about like get the rich sound out. There's like you have to dig into it to get it out. And I think everything that I listen to, well, not everything, but a lot of things I listen to, I'm really thinking about that. And then the other component of it that is more a product of just my musical taste now is I like listening to noise or like things that are noisy, because of there's some like kind of political implication to it, but it's also it's in some ways it's like this contrast between like this emotional, oftentimes tonal, and like kind of almost primordial, quality of sound or timbre or voice or whatever, and then contrasting that with like the most artificial and industrial thing that you could possibly think of, and kind of meshing the two and then seeing what comes out of it, like what do we hear, what's the magic that comes from combining these two things.
Right on.
So yeah, I don't know timbre I wouldn't like intuitively I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, like timbre is something that I think about all the time, but I think the quality of sound I think of.
Listening to you talk about your own approach to your music making and watching you air harp is the coolest thing. I guess I'd never thought about air harp. Like air harp is maybe the coolest air instrument.
I mean, people like to do this. This is really not how we play.
No, but like you were, yeah. I mean, first of all, you just look so pro when you do that.
Well, I have to demonstrate to my students all the time. But yeah, like, I don't know, I'm imagining the motion. I mean, and harp is a really... And I think harp is like a super tactile instrument because, I like to say what makes it really unique is in order to create sound from it, your finger has to bend a string. And it's not even just touching it or pulling it, but it's bending it.
No, like my fingers hurt just like listening to you talk about this. It sounds so unbelievably painful.
Like my fingers are forever calloused, and I will never be a hand model because just like it has...
Well, you could be on the top.
No, not even the top. My nails are so ruined from it.
Oh, yeah?
And that's the thing, like, having never gotten a professional manicure or anything, because we're clipping our nails all the time, and then we clip them wrong, and they grow weird. So I would equate it to, like, I don't know, like a ballet dancer's foot. It gets, like, super fucked up from just, like, dancing and getting squished. So that's what, I mean, harpist hands, we make beautiful music, but the hands themselves,
It's awesome.
Ugly.
Which itself is the dichotomy that you think about when you're talking about the music that you enjoy. Yeah,
maybe that's part of it is like, I play this instrument that is often like kind of reduced to being beautiful, whereas it actually, I mean, there's like, once you research anything, like you find out all the twisted stuff involved in the history of, or, I have this friend who just sent me like an excerpt of a book that he's reading. I think it's about Josephine, like wife of Napoleon, how she was essentially, like someone who just like slept around with a bunch of people and had these gossipy lunches, but then also she was a harpist. So there's this like, and it's like there's this association of like harp and sexuality, or harp and like female sexuality in particular.
Really?
Yeah, it's really fascinating. And so like on the outside, people think, oh, the harp is King David played the harp. It is pure. It is, angels. But it's really actually very like has a very like sensual history and sexual history too. Even like the David story, supposedly, like he was not using the harp to like relax Saul. It was about seducing Saul, and that is a reading of it. Which then completely changes the nature of like the way we think about the harp. Mm-hmm. And then it goes down to, this idea of like you have to bend the string. It's such a sensual process where you are like, you're manipulating it entirely. Whereas like, piano, it does seem to feel a little bit, I'm sure pianists would think differently, but it does tend to feel like, having played piano, it does seem much more detached, where it is really this extremely like impressive mechanical object that you're operating.
Machine.
Yeah, and I don't feel like the harp is a machine. It is.
There's an immediacy to it.
Yeah, it's really connected to the body. And we
Yeah.
have to hold the instrument against ourselves to
Aha,
play it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the cello. People describe the cello as being like that too.
Yeah.
It's between your legs, and
Yeah.
is the harp between your legs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you play if you play the full-size pedal harp.
Yeah. I guess I would have thought about gender associations, but I wouldn't have thought about sexuality. Just in my, layperson's reading of the harp.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably too R-rated for this show, but because like my research area is gender in the harp, and so like having had to mine the field for various pieces of various articles. There's one that is specifically talking, I think, about 18th century like gender politics and the harp. And apparently, like, the French phrase for playing the harp was slang for like playing with a woman's genitals, and that was a commonly you say like, oh, you're playing the harp.
Man, the French love those words.
Yeah, but it's interesting that the harp was kind of a euphemism for something like a very sexual act. And again, like, that's not something that gets talked about very regularly, even amongst my colleagues, because
they want to move away from that.
Well, it's either like they don't know about it, or it's like gross and weird, or it goes against, I think, against the stereotype of the harp. And the way the stereotype of the harp developed is itself interesting because it has to do with gender politics in Europe and like relegating women to the home more and more, and the harp being this really like kind of appropriate instrument. And in some ways, like, the narrative of the harp being this like feminine instrument was really like enforced by men. Like, men kind of decided like, okay, this is a feminine instrument.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of just like this like popular narrative, but then if you dig into like actual practices or like, I guess colloquialisms or like what was happening on the ground, it's a much more diverse history. Yeah, I don't know. It's I think what made me enjoy being a harpist again, because as someone who, like, I started playing the harp when I was 4 and never stopped playing it, and was doing the really intense like competition circuit. So like, you're expected to practice 6 to 8 hours a day. And then you're, and it's a competition, so it's really, in some ways, very inhuman. You feel
Right.
like you become a machine at a certain point.
Right.
And for a long time, I was like, I don't really, why do I want to be a musician? Like, there seems to be no point to this. And it was really actually digging, like, when I was a doctoral student, like, digging into, like, social history of the harp, or like political economy of the harp, like that. Then I was like, oh, that, that's really interesting to me. It gives new dimension to playing the instrument, where it's not just about playing music perfectly anymore, but like, I don't know, in some ways, like, finding the dark things and creating something, something of value to the listener or the viewer. And then for me to also, it helps me connect to like my own life experience with my instrument. So again, it's not just like, this is a thing that I play,
Right.
but there's some like material connection to it.
Yeah, and that kind of storytelling that you do as a scholar and a performer to give this deep practice more salience rather than just expertise.
Yeah.
So let's transition here to talking about your playlist here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up your playlist. The audience won't be able to see it, but I should probably add that as a view now that I think about it. Okay, so here's your playlist, and let me say, similarly to what you're just saying about, you've got the soft and beautiful, and then you have the harsh and noise. And again, this is the first episode that I've done here. I was thinking, like, I'm going to invite you in to DJ. I was guessing you're going to pick stuff that had, I don't know, a beat perhaps, or something. But this is totally fine, because like DJs, there's all sorts of different kinds of DJs. There's plenty of DJs that do stuff with noise. I'm not sure what I'm going to be able to bestow upon you in terms of making stuff, so I'm hoping you're showing up with some musical ideas. But I mean, let's just take a look at this here. Like, you've got stuff like Jasmine Sullivan, you've got Kendrick Lamar, Janelle Monáe, like that stuff that is SZA. Yeah, I mean, this is everything from like R&B to hip hop. You've got minimalist Steve Reich, which is awesome and is actually very much related to electronic dance music. There's a lot of overlaps there, both historically and then what people have done with it. Philip Glass also.
Yeah.
But man, some of this other stuff, like I'm trying to remember Animals as Leaders. Is that the really noisy?
That's the metal group.
Right. Oh, right. That's the one that I was like, man, I can't beat grid this.
Can you not?
This is well, it's not in 4. If it's not in 4, I can't beat.
Oh yeah, and part of their thing is they do all these like really complex rhythms.
Yeah. Good luck to you. But no, there's another one that was just straight up just like noise.
Tim Hecker. It was probably the Tim Hecker.
Right. Yeah. So, why did you choose these tracks? Like, it seems like you're like, do you listen to this? Like when you're going home, you're listening to Tim Hecker?
Yeah.
What is it about that? I mean, you said it already. It almost seems like you want to be surrounded in like a cocoon of noise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, well, actually, it relates to my current practice right now. So I've been like trying to make my own music for the past year, but I've never been drawn to being a composer. And I still would never want to call myself a composer because I just don't identify. I feel like there's a lot of baggage with calling yourself a composer that I just don't feel drawn to. But I've always, like, you know, again, this is like the contrast. I don't know, there's always some dissonance involved in the choices that I make. The one challenge of being a harpist has always been, like, it's a really soft instrument. And, you know, like, having played in orchestra, but I mean, I mostly am a soloist, so I'm playing by myself. And it's a soft instrument. There's always issues of like, okay, you want to make sure you project enough, or if you play with an ensemble, it's always harp is too soft, you need to play louder. And so this idea of like, okay, well, I play this soft instrument, but what I really want to do is to like be wrapped in a cocoon of sound. So I have this, you know, this electroacoustic harp that I bought in January, and I'm essentially like trying to make ambient music, so just like it could just be a lot of static or whatever. And really imagining like, oh, I would love to just be, you know, like a sound sculptor instead with a harp. So it does mean like a lot of amplification, but also I don't know, like the whole, you know, like ambient movement coming out of like Brian Eno, but there's this whole like wave of these like female electronic musicians like Pauline Oliveros, but also one I didn't put on because she writes like 30-minute long, you know, like drone, you know, like minimalist drone music. Like I was like, that really wouldn't work. Eliane Radic, who's this like French, she's a composer, but she writes these amazing, like huge pieces of just drones. And they like sometimes they build up, but it's like a test of patience, because I mean, like, yeah, like beats are really fun and they get you moving and it's like easy. In some ways, like sometimes, well, I always have a lot of thoughts, but sometimes I think like we live in such a like quantized society where all music is like exactly to the beat. And as a acoustic performer, like a live performer, like no one is ever that accurate. And especially working with composers, like if they've written some complex rhythm, they're like, oh, well, we could play it in MIDI. I'm like, I'm not MIDI, like I'm not a computer. Like there's going to be so much. I can try the best I can, but it's never going to be that accurate. So a lot of music now.
But also, you don't want it to be.
Well, I don't want it to be, yeah, and because I think it loses that like tenor that I was talking about. What makes something emotional, to me, is sometimes when something isn't quite accurate. So when you phrase something, like the human voice, I think is often my standard for thinking about phrasing. Like, could I sing this? Even if it's not singable, but could I phrase it with my voice or vocalize it with my voice? That's often what I think about as a classical player. So in thinking about like kind of making ambient music, like a lot of it isn't beats at all. Like there's no, I mean, some of it has a beat, but a lot of it is just these like wide soundscapes. Mm-hmm. And I do want to imagine a kind of total immersion of sound in a way that it almost like you almost feel like you can't maybe, I don't know, maybe this is like the bias of transcendence that we pick up as classical musicians. But I think I do want people to feel like they're experiencing like another world through sound. And some people do it, like, I was watching this like a Boiler Room, like club show that Charlie XCX did. And I'm like, I can see the appeal of raves because it's about losing yourself too, to a beat. And I think some people are really drawn to that. And I'm not sure I am as much, but I am drawn to, again, like losing yourself.
Transcendence.
In some form of, people find transcendence in many ways. Transcendence through like diving into a pool, right? There's no structure to it, but it's just, you just kind of like lose it, like melt into it. That's what I'm thinking. So a lot of like Tim Hecker, of course, but also this track by Burial in McDonald's. So Burial, so he's this like really trailblazing electronic musician. And what I learned about his, I guess, writing process or like production process was like supposedly I can't remember what software he used, but he would like manually assemble them. So like nothing was perfectly quantized. And that was the thing that like made him so unique amongst like the club music scene in the UK. There was just something about his music that was actually still deeply emotional.
So he was like in Audacity, basically like
maybe.
cutting and splicing. And copying.
Like so the rhythm was never like quite perfect.
Yeah.
And it was so slight. It was so slight though, and it's like those little details that like I don't know that I mean, and he has in McDonald's is probably one of the more like the looser tracks. I really like it though because again it's like it makes you sad listening to it, or you can
Which
hear.
You love.
Yeah, I know. Like manic pixie dream girl aesthetic. Like it. You can hear sadness in it. And it doesn't necessarily make you sad, but you can hear sadness in it, or there's like something in it that feels deep. And I think that's what I'm always looking for. Is I'm really drawn to music that feels deep, whether it's depth and sentiment or depth and sound or something. And I think that's why, like, again, people who enjoy the club scene maybe will disagree with me on this, but like my sense is losing yourself to a beat, it actually feels very ephemeral is not the right word, but it feels like this lightening of yourself where you like lose yourself to the beat because you just want to like shed who you are. And I think what I'm looking for more is not shedding who you are, but almost becoming more wrapped in. So it's like a burrowing downward rather than like an ascending kind of situation.
Well, one is escape.
Yeah.
You don't want transcendence through escape.
No.
You want to actually be more grounded.
Yeah. It's like, you're kind of faced with your own materiality, I guess, even more, but then finding beauty in that, I guess. And
man, I'm loving this.
Well, and this is why, again, like in my academic research that I do a lot of stuff with like new materialism and like affect theory, because it's all kind of circling around all the same feelings, like the same ideas.
Right. That's incredible.
Yeah. So that's why those tracks appear in this playlist. I'm convinced, though, again, since I'm drawn to this idea of sound sculpting, that I was like, well, initially I was like, yeah, should I just supply like pop stuff or hip hop stuff that has a really clear beat? But I think there's, again, knowing nothing about DJing, but I feel like there is a way to still like phase things in. Totally.
And in fact, so let's get into that idea. There's a notion now that, and you all can't see the deck. Actually, you can. Here, there we go. So that's the deck hey, that's a pretty good angle. What do you all think out there, all one of our viewers? That's nice. So here we have the Pioneer DDJ Flex 10. This is the flagship controller in the Flex series. And I'll tell you a little bit about what that is later. But essentially this has many of the bells and whistles. This is only like a year old in terms of when it came out. So it's got a lot of bells and whistles. For example, if you see here's a quantize button.
Yeah.
So what that's going to do is it's going to, if you hit a hot cue, and I'll show you what that is, it's going to lock that into the beat. You can also do beat syncing, right? Here's the beat syncing where I can make this like the master track, and this is going to follow that. So then it's going to match the tempo, and it's also going to line up beat one on this with beat one on that, which is great. But like, I don't know, what about when we don't have that and we just have like 2 friggin' turntables? At some point you have to go in and do stuff.
Yeah.
And I think about one of my favorite DJs is DJ Shadow, and he talks about being in tune and on time. And he got started in the days before all the digital separation of pitch and tempo. So he had to like really dig through his crates and find exactly what was up. Same thing with like setting loops. You can set loops in here really, really easily, and it's incredible. And it's going to map it on. You can do 4 beats, 2 beats, 8 beats, whatever, and it's going to be perfectly beat gridded. But then it's like, well, if everything about this device is around manipulating dance music that's been beat gridded out, what are the affordances of this technology ecosystem to do what you're suggesting, which is do something that's not? And it turns out you can still do that, but maybe you have to like go a little bit in a different direction and misuse the technology a little bit. So for example, there's here, let me go back to this angle. There's the loop in point and the loop out point. So you can do that, and if quantize is not turned on, it'll just do it wherever. And doesn't matter if it's 2 and 7/8 beats long, it'll just do that. So that's pretty cool. But let's go ahead and get started on something that is metric, if that's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, what track do you think you want to start out with that, like, again, is like kind of metric?
Well, so Inhale Exhale is pretty metric. So Neo, she was like kind of really inspired by at least that album, like D'Angelo and the kind of crunky, funky stuff. I don't know if that would blend well with Pink, because Pink also has a beat.
Yeah, Pink's pretty metric.
Or Garden, which also has a beat. Like those 3, I would say, are much more like straightforward.
Okay, so here's what I want you to do. This is your twisty select button. Look what happens on the screen when I do that.
Okay.
Beep, boop, boop, boop. And then once you select one, you're just going to press down on it, and it's going to load it into the left deck, which is, as you see there, it's.
Okay, well, we could just start with this one. So
Okay, great.
Press down?
Yeah, go ahead and press down. Boom, it is loaded in. You got SZA there.
I don't hear anything. Is that
Yeah,
okay.
it's not playing yet. This is great. So I went through and I already made sure that the beat grid and the BPM is accurate. So let me just draw your attention here to the jog wheel. If you notice here, this is the tempo.
Yeah.
And it's currently going up 0.8%. So you're going to want to slide that down. Slide that up to bring the tempo down. This tempo fader.
2, 0?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
But just know that that's how you control stuff, because you're going to have to tempo match things in a second. Cool. Okay, so what we should do now is just like go ahead and press play.
Which is this one.
Yeah.
I mean, according to this, Burial is the same BPM.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so check this out. You can fade this down if you want. Boo. You can EQ things. Yeah, cool. But for now, go ahead and stop it. All right, so notice that on the screen, it's the top waveform that's moving along. Okay, now what we can do is we can create hot cues. And hot cues are like little bookmarks that you can jump back to.
Okay.
So go ahead and jump back to the beginning of the track by holding down Shift and then pressing the cue button. Boom, now you're back to the track. And the load in point for this track, if you look on the screen, is actually right before that downbeat. So then you could use this platter to move forward.
I see.
Yeah, and then if there was a waveform there, then you'd actually be doing that. Yeah, cool. Okay, so you're just going to go ahead and probably move the platter to here, and we're cheating by having the quantize button on.
I'm just going to try. Wait, is it?
Yeah, do it.
Is it turning? It's not turning. Oh, I have to push it down.
Yeah, you have to push it down a little bit, yeah. Yeah, and then if you were to press that button right there, like this one, boom, you now have your first hot cue.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, great. So no matter where you are, you could hit that and it would jump back to
Yeah.
it. Okay, so I don't know, where do you want to hot cue this? Like typically, this, by the way, is what we say in DJing, it's prepping. So you're prepping your set. You're going through the tracks, you're finding all the spots. You probably want to do a hot cue here at the beginning like you just did because that's probably where you're going to load in this track. But where else might you want to jump to or begin in a track?
With this track, there's like one section I really like about it, but it's actually a lyric thing and not a music thing.
Hey, that's great.
It's she says something about like being sad about not having a booty, and she uses like the words like booty, nobody, and buddy, and I like really like that, and that's the only reason I really like this song.
So, hey, rather than doing it that way,
because I'm gonna give myself tendonitis.
Yeah, you use your left hand probably, and then you're just gonna. You can do that.
Okay.
But also, if you want to go faster, you can hold down Shift. Oh, no, sorry, that's different software. You can't do that here. Hold down Shift and then these arrows to jump
okay.
like 16 bars ahead. Yeah.
It's in the second verse.
And you can see this waveform, and then that's like the overview of the waveform. That's the arrow. That's where you are. So you can kind of imagine.
And then when I want to hear if it's the
just
right
press
spot.
play.
Okay, yeah, it's like kind of this section. So probably somewhere around, because it's obviously instrumental stuff.
Yeah, press play.
No, that's not it.
And you know what? I'm realizing the beat grid is off now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I went through and fixed it, but I guess it's
right there. That's where I want to start.
right there.
And so I can create it.
Is that where you want to start it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, hit the cue. Yeah, nice. Yeah, and maybe, well, we should probably fix this beat grid. Hold on, let me go back to the beginning. Oh, that's why I messed it up. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go to Edit Grid. Okay, then I'm going to skip ahead. Okay, that's close enough for now. All right, and then let's jump to your second. Okay, great. So that's kind of what you want, the only 2 cue points that you want?
Oh, I could pick more. I don't know.
Yeah, you can pick.
It was like a lengthy process.
Yeah. It is.
Well, maybe the chorus.
Okay.
Wherever that is. Let's see. Okay, it was probably somewhere. Is that where it was? Let me see. Okay, I think it's somewhere around there.
Boom. Great. Yeah, nice. Okay, great. So you got your cue point set. Now, what do you want to mix in with this? And you got kind of 2 choices here. You can layer things,
Yeah.
or you can transition between them.
I don't know, part of me wants to do something really weird.
Yeah, like imagine the softness of this track with something noisy.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think Monomyth would work. I could try it with Spring Heeled Jack Flies Tonight.
Okay, go ahead. That's the metal one, right?
No, that's the ambient one.
Oh, okay. So in that case, go ahead and twist this knob right here.
Oh, okay, not this one.
No, not that one. Yeah, because this will be the right deck. And then once you've selected it, go ahead and press down on the knob. Great. It's now in the right track. And go ahead and do the same thing.
Oh, like pick. Okay, well this one's hard because there's like no, there's like, it's so ambient, there's no good spots. I would definitely start with the beginning, just, oops.
Yeah, so
Did I
shift and Q takes you back to the beginning.
Q. Oh, sorry, shift and Q. Okay.
Oh, you did a slightly different combination. There we go. Now try
Okay.
it.
So we're at the beginning now,
yeah,
though?
beginning, uh-huh.
Okay, so let's just make,
Boom,
although
there you go.
there's I think I want to start, like, when it gets noisy.
Yeah,
There. Okay.
nice.
And then, again, because it's just a lot of droning for a long time, I don't think it really matters.
Is there anything else here
I
besides
could get really loud, like, you see it gets denser.
Okay, right, yeah. So find like the really dense portion.
So it does get, let's see, where does it get super dense? I don't think it matters where I start, but let me go here first. I don't know, maybe somewhere. That's probably fine to go from there.
Okay, great. So you got 2 cue points. You got your soft noise and you got your heavy noise and your little bit heavier noise.
Yeah.
All right, what do you want to do with these musically? And I'm so unprepared to have this conversation with you because I was expecting to have like songs that were very beaty.
Yeah, well, I guess like the point of this is to change again, going back to this idea of emotional tenor, right? So how do you change, like, how do you, I guess, like, rearrange a song so that it says something different?
Right.
And so,
yeah,
of course,
the
like,
remix.
yeah, essentially it's a remix. So, like, right now, SZA's Garden is this, like, kind of lush, all these, like, 7th chords. But is it possible to turn it? I mean, the music video for it is actually, like, Donald Glover. There's like an Adam and Eve situation
yeah.
going on, and the Adam character is played by Donald Glover. But I'm like, well, maybe we could just like go like full on primordial, because like the thing that I like about Tim Hacker's music is it sounds like beyond just like human time. So then, yeah. So if we started out with, should I just press this to?
Yeah. So
trigger?
Yeah, if you press this, it's going to start playing as long as you're holding it down.
Yeah.
And then if you like what's happening, then you press play and you can release.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay. So press.
Yeah.
Oops. No.
And then with your thumb hit, yeah, there you go.
And then how do I trigger stuff?
So same thing here. Like if you want to start from the beginning, you would just sort of tap it to jump back to the beginning, and then you'd press play.
Okay. So what happens if I want to take number 2?
Yeah, go ahead and jump to 2. Just press it real quick, and you jumped there. Yep.
Okay. And if I want to loop it.
Right. So now if you want to loop, and our beat grid isn't perfect right now, which kind of bums me out that SZA isn't reading correctly. But if you wanted to loop it, you go ahead and hit this to loop for 4 beats. And then you could increase that to 8, decrease it to 4, 2, 1, etc.
Okay. And can I just hear it? Can I make it slightly longer? So I wanted to start, because she says, I know you want to be laid up with a big booty, and I want to
So
get
then
the whole line.
let's do it manually then.
Okay.
So we're going to take it out of loop mode. Now you're going to find out where you want it to loop, and you're going to hit in.
Okay.
And then you're going to scroll to where you want it. Here, and I'm going to turn down.
So here's in.
Okay, now scroll to where you want it to be, and then
Sorry.
you'd hit out. And let me suggest, when you do this, only keep your hand on one side of the platter.
Oh, it makes it easier.
Yeah,
Okay.
rather than twisting it.
Oh, this is much easier. Than... Okay, that's where I want to stop. And then press in again? Or
And
out?
then hit out. Yeah, exactly. Now just hit play, and it'll loop that.
And then if I want to fade it in and out.
What's that?
If I want to fade it in and out.
Yeah, okay. So now Let me go ahead and stop both of these. Now let's talk about what you can do musically on this instrument. You can obviously do volume, and
Yeah.
you can do that with the 2 channel faders. You can do it with a crossfader, so now that's going to be all left deck, all right deck, right in the middle. You can then do EQ, no problem. You then have these built-in color effects. So for example, filter, this is the standard that people do. It's a filter sweep low pass
Yeah.
and a high pass.
Yeah. Okay.
You could do pitch instead. Okay, digital echo.
Okay. Okay. This is. Yeah. Okay. This.
Yeah.
So
So,
I think I've decided I want to change my loop though.
Okay.
Based on. So if I want to get out of this, do I?
just hit this to turn it off.
Okay.
Right?
So I think.
And then you go to where you want and just hit the in point and then the out point.
So I want to do like having no booty, having no buddy, which is my favorite line anyway.
Yeah.
Nope, that's too far. Okay, so something, I want the having.
Having, so that's that green blob right there.
Oh,
So
that's that blob,
Yeah,
okay.
uh-huh. Boom.
Okay.
Yeah, set that as your in point. Nice. And then
Okay.
I think the
I
end
heard-
of that
I
green
heard-
is buddy.
Yeah, I heard that. I don't know what this is. Okay, that's you, buddy. Okay, so then we could stop around there.
Nice. Okay. And then you, yeah. And then you hit play.
I don't know. I don't know if I want it, if I want the having now. Okay, well, whatever. I'm going to fade it in anyway, so.
Yeah.
So I can play it, and then I can play around with it now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if I do pitch,
Yeah.
and then which one's the controller for it? This one?
That one. Mhm.
Oh, it changed. Okay. So this is the pitch that I want.
Oh, so yeah, got you. So what
So-
you actually want to do is you don't want to do it as a effect here. You
Oh,
want to
you-
do it through here. So we're going to go to key shift.
Okay. It's this one.
We'll go back to hot cues.
Yeah. I'm telling you, like, you've asked a really like weird person to.
No,
do
I love this, man. I totally love this. This is incredible.
Okay, so I'm gonna play around.
Yeah.
And then can I hit my Tim Hecker?
Exactly. And do you want to have Tim Hecker coming in hot, or do you want it to come in soft?
Well, actually, I want Tim Hecker to be playing and this to come
And then
in.
got you.
Yeah.
So you're already doing something that DJs do, which is you can introduce something by doing a filter sweep,
Yeah.
or you can introduce something with the
Volume.
volume fader,
Okay.
or both, right? So if you're feeling good, you can go ahead and stop this.
Okay.
Cool. And then maybe let's go ahead and add a cue point here, because it sounds like we did all that work to find it. So now it's that yellow one there.
Okay. So what is
All
this? Oh, this is Tim Hecker.
No, that was SZA.
Oh, okay.
So we added that hot cue to
Okay.
the line that you just found.
Okay.
So maybe go ahead and start Tim Hecker wherever you want it. And then think about how you're going to introduce this SZA loop. Do you want to introduce it with the low pass really low
Yeah, I
in
want to
the
try
middle?
that. Let's see. Although, is there a way for me to shift what's going on here, or is this the only track that I can manipulate?
This is Tim Hecker, that's SZA.
Yeah, I know.
What do you want to do to...
Well, I want
wanna do pitch?
I kind of want to fade this in too.
Cool, great. How do you want to fade it in? Do you want to fade it in with the filter? Do you want to fade it in with
I think I want
volume?
to fade it in with volume.
Okay.
So do I just...
Boom, yeah, just pull it down.
Okay.
There you are.
Well, actually, I want to go back to...
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Man, so delicate. Just like the harp, yet so harsh.
Well, the whole thing that I like about this music is that you have to be so patient listening to it. And so it's like, for me, again, like, because a lot of what I do as a harpist is playing like experimental new music.
Mm-hmm.
That, I mean, this is in many ways like really fun for me because then I can experiment. And it's not about like creating anything cool, but it's like the process of like, okay, if I want to be really patient in listening, if I held this Tim Hecker track at this volume, like we have to change the way we listen.
Mm-hmm. So do you find that like a lot, like do you hang out with noise musicians?
Not as much as I probably would like. I don't even know if my ears could stand being in like an actual like really noisy venue. So what's this side, Space Crush and
No,
Noise?
so this is just selecting the effect that this filter knob, that this color knob is using. So right now it's set to filter. You could do Space Crush Noise. I mean, yeah.
Should I add more noise to this?
Sure. Now you can only do one
at a time
of these effects at a time.
Okay.
But hey, you have this whole other, there's all of these other effects that you can do if you wanted to. So there's kind of two different kinds of effects here. So you've got, you don't really have any great distortions over here.
I mean, this is already highly distorted.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just chilling out with Tim Hecker right now. So I
Okay.
want to do stuff here.
Great. So make
back
sure
to
you're
mine.
queued up where you want to go. And if
Okay.
it's the loop, it's there. Great. I'm seeing on the screen that your loop is turned to be on.
Yep.
So then just go ahead and press play.
So this to me sounds like when you're between radio stations or you're on a radio station that like...
Yeah, you're driving through like some weird part of West Virginia that doesn't quite have, and you're just like, you haven't seen a car in miles and you're just searching for some sort of human connection. Yeah. I can hear a signal coming through. There's something out there.
So in theory, I could switch to different parts of the
Totally.
track. Like I would love to do that. And then I could do, although I can't do two things at the same time,
You
right?
can't, but you have all of these other effects here.
Well, I was gonna say, because I want to shift pitch again.
Ah.
Oh, my Tim Hecker is done.
Quick, hit the red button to bring it back to, okay, wait, we're back. Also, you could loop this.
That's true.
Would anybody ever know?
No, exactly.
So you could, let's loop, and let's turn it to the maximum loop. Yeah, and then press play. People would probably never know.
Yeah, this is the, well, I want to turn the volume back down. Okay.
So
But we were at sampler last time.
no, we were in key shift, and so you get to that secondary function by holding down shift and then hitting the button, and it brings you to key shift.
Okay.
Yeah. That's fun.
Well, it's a duet now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, like this is, if I were gonna play with this a lot longer, then I would create a whole narrative.
Yeah. Well, that's what's cool about the remix is you can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's my gimmick for this one.
I
And
like it.
I would like in theory want to like work on it for a long time. Like I mean, if I had more time to spend on this, I think what I would do is like have the static, but also modulate because the Tim Hecker track can't get any louder right now. And what I would ideally really like is for the static to just take over because that's what his music does anyway.
Right, you want it to really distort. So I've never used these effects in this way, but let's see if we can make that happen somehow. So let's take the noise.
Oh yeah, I like that. Oh, that's a little bit too much, but
I don't know if that's doing what we want it to do, though.
yeah, there was a moment though I think I really liked hearing.
Yeah, the whoosh.
It sounds like wind.
Yeah. Crushing isn't going to be distortion, but
It's like a sine wave thing. Yeah, that's not. I liked noise. Let's try space. Oh, I like that too. Because it's all about like widening it. I would just play around with the Tim Hecker track and just be like,
forever.
yeah, I know.
So there's two different kinds of these. Are like color effects,
Yeah.
and then we have like beat effects.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if we could get. I wonder if some of these might help out. So we're going to turn it on. We're going to apply it to deck 2. And this is on a 4 beat. We can change it to 8 and 16.
Yeah. And now I'm hearing it like the start of Garden.
Yeah. So we could add just like a lot of reverb.
Mm-hmm.
Echo. Just adding a lot of echo.
I think actually echo on this track because it's already she has
yeah,
like
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of reverb on it.
So let me show you how to do that. So this is what deck it's
Okay.
being assigned to. So you just turn this to deck 1.
Okay.
And then you select the effect here. And then if you're doing echo, you might also want to select the beat. So this is half.
We're turning this into a noise track now.
I love this. That's awesome.
You had no idea when you
I
asked me to
didn't,
do
but
this.
this is what I love about the idea of this show is that I'm gonna be able to do this stuff. Man, that's cool. That was really cool. Okay, so let me show you. Let's maybe do one more mix. What do you
Okay,
think?
we could do something that's like much easier.
Yeah, and then also there's another feature that I want to show you that is like when this came out, it just like totally blew my mind that you could do this. Stem separation. You can separate out the stems of what's playing,
okay.
and you can do it live. So it's doing all of those fast Fourier calculations like live. So let's go ahead and take a track like there's a Charlie XX track, wasn't there?
Yeah, it's not her most beady one, but
Right, that's true. But it gets beady a little bit later on. But let's go with Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is what the track sound. Okay, are all of our effects off? Okay. Okay, cool. So what's going on here? Why is it sounding like that? Oh, because the effect was on. Okay. So let's go here, maybe. Yes, that's a good spot. All right, so check this out. We have at our fingertips, we can turn off and on any aspect of what's playing through. So
okay.
So one way of transitioning or blending tracks is to grab one element of it. So for example, you could go to this Kendrick track. You could loop, say, like these few bars with only the drums. So you're playing whatever on the left deck. The right deck, you have this going on. Then people are like, oh, that's a different beat. Something else is coming in. You take out the drums to the first track.
Okay.
And then eventually you take out that track in general, and then you bring in, and then you take it out of the loop.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah. Okay, so now stem separation, all you do is just tap those buttons, and you can take on and off anything that you want. So, what do you think? Do you want to do poetic justice?
Yeah, we could do poetic justice.
And then what?
I mean, we could try. So, like, again, another one that has a beat would be Pink by, like, there's the Grimes thing.
Hey, can I make a suggestion?
Yeah?
Just because I really want to know what you come up with. Can we do Steve Reich?
Sure, yeah. That's actually quite rhythmic, so.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so you want this one to have Steve Reich?
I mean, it doesn't matter which deck
Oh,
is
this
which.
is one of my favorite. Like, I mean, this is such a specific experience. Like, so my husband has the box set, the Pat Metheny recording of it. I love just, like, putting the CD in, well, I guess, I don't know if she just got a new car. I don't know if it has a CD player anymore. But, like sliding the CD in and it playing in the car speakers. It's, like, the best car track. Okay, so just...
Yeah, now one thing to check is it looks like your color effects are on space. So go ahead and,
I just turned it off.
Or move it to the middle.
Yeah. Okay, so then I'm just...
Yeah, also, man, I'm realizing this too. These tunes are not at anywhere near the same BPM.
So should we...
I don't, like, it depends on how much you care about. Like, we can't really move Kendrick Lamar to be much different.
Okay.
Because that'll be hard to do.
I'm just trying to think.
But you could speed up Steve Reich.
I could slowly speed up. I'll just play it.
Or you could go half. You could slow it down.
Okay, so how do I do that?
All right, so do you want to speed it up or slow it down?
Let's slow it down.
Okay,
Let's try
so
that.
if we slow it down, this is at 136.
Okay.
So that means that we need to bring it to be 68 BPM.
Oh, you mean this? Wait.
So this is 136.
Okay.
If we're going to slow this down, we need to slow it down at exactly half.
Oh, okay.
So we
okay,
need to
I
make
see.
that 68
Yeah,
BPM.
okay.
Here's the problem, though. That's so beyond what people normally do for dance music. We need to extend the range here because you were here to break how it's normally. So let's try that and then push that until it says 68. I think I did that math correct.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I know it's very. It also doesn't matter that much. Like if you get it, perfect. All right, now listen to it. See what it sounds like.
It sounds like different trains now.
I know. When I heard this, when I listened to this earlier today, I was like, "This is different trains." I thought it was too. That's so funny. What if you blended this slow with different trains?
That would be the same.
See what
track.
it phased them, right? It'd be like
Oh, that would be
layer
so
upon
meta.
layer.
You're
Exactly.
phasing Rice music with itself.
Okay. Yeah. What a music major joke. Okay. So now this is pretty good, but we need to go ahead and set our hot cues. For Steve Reich and Drake. So. Let's go ahead and do that.
Well, I would love the beginning again. So
Okay,
to get back to
shift and cue.
Shift and cue. And
And I would go ahead and move the platter to be like.
at the red.
There. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead
And then
and
just
flip
hit.
it. Yeah.
Okay. And there's a section I believe in here where like all the guitars come in. Again, I'm looking for density. Oh no, that's not.
Yeah. I
mean, this is a long track, so. Oh, this looks different. What's going on here? Like, there's a pretty big bass. No, I like the noisy stuff. Ah, you hear like that bass coming in. I like that.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this also isn't beat gridded appropriately, so
So you're gonna slide back, slide back, slide back. There we go.
yeah. And press play from there, just double check it.
Oh no, it's not.
Yeah,
Well,
that sounds good.
yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay, now let's do same with Kendrick Lamar.
Okay, so going back to here. We like the beginning.
We do the beginning, so is the beginning, or is the beginning after the beginning? So let's shift Q.
Yeah, like I want that like sweep in,
Uh-huh.
and then he comes in.
So what I would do here is I would set then your hot cue if you want here. Set
Yeah.
that as your hot cue. And then if you wanted that sweep, what you do is you tap in to find that place in the track.
Yeah.
And then you'd start maybe like
A little
a
earlier.
half note before, and you time it to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So here, let me show you this technique. So it's blinking, which means it's not playing. I've got my hand on the platter.
Yep.
Like let's say two beats before. I'm going to press play, and so now it's just waiting for me to release it, and I might do even like a baby scratch release like this. Yeah. Cool. So you kind of like baby scratch
Yeah.
to the beat and then release. Okay. So what do you think you want to do here? Who are you transitioning to who?
Oh man. Again, like I guess because I'm an instrumental performer, like I always think the instrument first. But I'm challenging myself to think like, is there something something strange that I could do? Okay, let's try the Kendrick track first.
Okay.
And
Cool. Where do you want to start from? The very beginning?
yeah, we could try it from the beginning, but we have it set. I think this is the first thing that we have it set to, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if we wanted, we go
Shift Q.
shift
yeah.
Q. Okay.
And then just play.
I'm trying to hear like where I would hear. Right. Yeah, this one's hard. I'm trying to think, because the right has such a different sound to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like too happy, you know.
Well, what about the earlier ones where it's just.
Like I just want to beat on that. You know? Yeah, and then it's like too.
Man, this is interesting. Because there's phasing that's happening as
Yeah.
it goes in and out of.
This one is just silly.
I think this is awesome. I would listen to this.
Yeah. It's like phasing squared or something. It's got like all manner of phasing going on.
Yeah, because like the thinking in like DJing is like, oh, that's gonna be a hard track to manage because it's gonna go in and out of time.
Yeah.
Because it's not recorded in the studio, but that's actually like a benefit.
Turn noise off. Doesn't work as well. I lost my. Oh, Steve Ray stopped playing.
Yeah.
It's not synced. Yeah. This one I need to spend a little time thinking about. I mean, we could just phase both tracks constantly with each other, because he's not being phased right now. Kendrick's not being phased. So volume for this one would be this one.
Yep.
Although I can also do,
With the filter.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's called a filter swap.
Yeah, I feel like this would work. You know, it's a little silly.
Maybe it's silly. I don't know. I kind of like it.
I want to play with it. I need time to like sit with it and like figure out
to be intentional about it.
Yeah, I'm like, because I do like this idea. Again, I feel like meaning is always something that's very important when I think about like how are these two tracks in dialogue, which is I think what DJs are thinking. Well, maybe not all DJs, but many I think are. And so it's like, well, do I phase out at particular points that he says something, or there's a particular timbre, there's a particular effect, and then phase right back in at a certain point? You know, like, how do I create a narrative through it? So yeah, this is definitely something I'd be like, when we're not being streamed, that I could just like mess around with it. Yeah.
No, it's interesting. Like, again, so much about DJing is about getting it to line up on the beat so that you can take a sample here, and just like smash them together.
Yeah.
But what happens when you have musicians that are recording, analog or whatever that means, so they're not in a studio, they're not being forced to a click track. You've got that sort of like beat level quantization.
Yeah.
But then also, Drake is probably on like a 16 bar phrase, like all other pop music, right? Sorry, I said Drake. Sorry.
Well,
Kendrick
Drake is
Lamar.
on this track actually. That's why I corrected you.
Yeah. Right. So that's in a 16 bar phrase. Reich is not. I'm guessing. I'd have to think about it, but like the whole thing is phasing. So then you have like the phrase structures are also phasing. But because Reich moves very slowly in and out of the different formal sections of the tune, I kind of like that different level of phasing. That's
like, what happens if we phase Kendrick's track the same way, or the same way as we're seeing electric counterpoint being we follow the same dynamics. What do we hear? And I guess that's again more of like process music, where it's not about the product, like whether or not it sounds good, but it's like, well, as we're doing it, what do we catch?
Right.
And if we do it in a loop, like we played this track on loop for the entire duration, because like this is what, like 7 minutes electric counterpoint.
Yeah, 6.5. Yeah, 7.
And his track, well, I guess it's 5. But if we only took sections of it, we're like, okay, well, what do we hear in it? And it's like, that's, I guess, very installation. Like, I'm thinking about, like, sound installation at this point, rather than making, like, a track.
Or it's like the first mix that you did. You did something that was instrumental and ethereal, or whatever the right words are. And then you pull out little quotes from the pop tune that you want to reference.
Yeah.
And you sort of, like, let it emerge.
And I mean, that's actually what Burial, like, he sampled like Beyonce or Christina Aguilera. And what he does is he'll like totally process little clips. And there's a video of the producer Fred again. There's like an NPR, there's a Tiny Desk performance. And he's essentially done that too with like poets. Like, he'll take specific snippets that he really likes, and then he'll do, and he's managed to get this, again, like emotional, like a really like emotional tenor out of it that I find really fascinating, because like electronic music is supposedly, it's like, oh, it's electronic music, it's, I don't know, it's like machines, but it's actually not. I think it's it's the fact that a human is still controlling it. It feels like you're in some ways manipulating, I guess, like what we take away from the track. It feels still very human in that way, which I appreciate.
There's an assignment that I've been trying to think about how to sculpt, and I don't even know like what grade level would be good for. But like a sonic essay is how I'm referring to it as, and maybe I should pay more attention to some of the stuff that you're talking about because it sounds more hip. But like, I was bringing in. So I took Drake's God's Plan, and if you think about like, I don't know if it's really the message of the song, but it's certainly the message of the song when you watch the music video. Have you seen that music video?
I probably have, but I don't. It's not like coming to mind right now.
Okay, he goes down to Miami, University of Miami, and he like gives out a whole bunch of money. He like goes to the grocery store and says like, okay, all you single mothers, everything's on me. Get whatever you need for your kids. And it's like, the name of the track is God's Plan. It's like, so you're wealthy not due to like unfettered capitalism and the entertainment industry, but God willed you to be.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I took that and I sort of stripped out the beat and had him doing his thing, and then I brought in some like Tupac quotes, where Tupac, there's this one thing that he did MTV in '94 talking about greed. So you take some of those greed quotes and creating a dialogue between them. Anyway, apart from like the argument that's making specifically, just thinking about the ability to create an argument within a musical context is something that I think my field of music education doesn't think about a lot.
Yeah.
But if you think about like essay writing, we're just let's create an essay, but let's do it. If ideology is out there and all of these soundscapes that are like washing over our ears all the time, whether that soundscape is like a quote from a politician or a famous person, or whether it's like a piece of dance music, like ideology is everywhere.
Yeah.
What happens if we tap into that through the power of the sample and, like you say, remix it? I think there's something really powerful about giving students the creative tools to make those arguments, but not compose it. I like what you're saying about like doing it live, like assemble all the tools that you need and then perform that argument, that sonic argument live.
Yeah, well, in some ways it means that especially if these are future music educators, that they have to, the idea of performing isn't performing an instrument well.
Right.
Which I think, depending on the university or the program, like, FSU has always prided itself on the fact that it's, it doesn't matter whether or not you want to professionally be a performer, like you are skilled in your instrument. Yeah, you're skilled in your instrument, and that's a sign of a good musician. And so I think that the idea of performance becomes very tied to like a specific skill on either voice or instrument, as opposed to this idea. I mean, this is going into then performance studies or like performance theory. Like if we subscribe to the idea that we're all performing, like everything we do is performing, not like it's a performance on stage, but is active performance, then like when you are, if you're creating like a sonic essay or you're DJing, like you're not actually performing in the sense that people's like eyes are on you and you're like, I'm a performer, but you're like creating meaning, you're adding meaning, or you're shaping meaning. Intervening, like whatever word we want to use. And that's a powerful idea because it makes, I guess it in some ways can lend a sense of agency that like our students don't realize that they have. And it's not like, oh, you can choose whatever you want to do, but it does mean that like our actions matter. And, like playing, it makes music matter more too, because it's like, well, this isn't just a capitalist, like this isn't just a commodity that's making tons of money. I mean, it also is, but it's like it can also be used in ways that are outside of its original conception. So like a Kendrick song, I mean, maybe he was, but let's say like, I don't know, none of these work really well. Well, let's just take, like whatever like meaning that Kendrick Lamar, initially intended for poetic justice. Like it's possible to, I mean, this is such a postmodern like artistic practice. It's like, collages or like sampling is very postmodern in some ways, but it's like you can create a new interpretation from something simply by juxtaposing it with something else. And so this idea of inherent meaning is not really that important.
Right.
It's like shaping the meaning of something.
Right, but I feel like that's something that like English studies has known about for a long time.
Yeah.
But we're not really doing that.
No, and I have always liked the idea. I feel like we're like losing people the deeper we get into this. I've always thought about like how come like what does deconstruction like look like in a musical like in a sonic practice if we think about like or even like literary like I like to read like literary theory, which is oftentimes just like analyzing. A lot of it's analyzing film or literature, but then like oftentimes there's an extra in the sense of outside or external interpretation of a film. It's never about like, oh, let's analyze the film for what it's supposed to be about, but it's like, oh, here I have this theory and I'm reading this film through this lens, and that gives us both a new understanding of a different understanding of the film and also of the theory. And I don't know if we're doing that as much in musical, in music academia. Definitely for performers, like not as much. But I do like this idea of like passing through, like this idea of like a theory that you pass through a piece of media, and that theory then changes that media too, and vice versa. And I wish our students did more of it and didn't think of it as like, oh, it's a disciplinary thing where if you do that, then you have to be a music theorist, whatever that means. I mean, music theorist also means a lot of other things. So this is why, like for me, I'm like, I am always a performer first. But again, because like I like the idea of like performance theory, that performer then actually means more than just I walk on stage and play the harp.
Yeah.
But I perform ideas, or like I am by existing also performing a lot of social codes, or all of that. And even then like a DJ piece of equipment like this then becomes another way of passing through an idea. So again, if nostalgia is something that I'm like, I'm not going to talk to my therapist about it, I'm going to like work it out while teaching or something. I don't know, it's an interesting, just like this methodology of passing through that I really like and use a lot then in the work that I do, both just like the musical, like the performance stuff, but also then in like the more theoretical spinning that happens at home. So I found this very enjoyable. Like I'm definitely curious and would I'm not sure if I would ever be like, oh, I want to DJ, but I do want to play with the idea of I don't know, like English professors love using this word, the palimpsest.
I'm sorry, what?
The palimpsest. It's the layers, like when you put layers on top of other things. It's PALIMPSEST.
Wow, what a great word.
It's overused. I'm like, I have to play a drinking game every time I'm around a bunch of English professors.
Really?
Like, how many times do they say the word palimpsest?
I know a lot of English majors, and I pride myself on knowing words. I don't know that word.
Oh, it's a very like theoretical term, but it's always used when they want to talk about like something, like reading something on top of something else or layering things on top of each other, and it's like like what you see in between. It's very very much like that. Like this feels very much like. Potentially you can like create very palimpsestic
Oh, I should do different camera angle when you say that. Yeah, right. Well, there are a lot of affordances to it, and I can see how like you're able to strip in and out both in time, in texture, in frequency. Yeah.
It lends a lot of me. Even like I think I'm just now very enamored with the filter dial, because I kind of, I mean, you asked earlier, do I care about timbre? And I'm like, I don't know when I do that, if I'm playing with it, then I'm thinking about the timbre of it. I'm thinking about, I guess, like temporal or like spatial or emotional qualities of a sound. And I can see the appeal of like studying like what DJs do from a sound studies perspective, because there's like, I don't know, there's it's really rich. Like you could explore a lot from the practice. Like why do people make certain choices musically? It's never it could be about the music or the beat, but I think it's more than that.
Yeah.
It seems like there's sometimes something more than that.
Yeah. I guess for this final scene, let me go to this angle. Boom.
I have to see the two cats there.
Yeah, I know. We got to work out the camera angles where, yeah. This was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
thank
fun.
you for being my first guest.
Well, then, the next guest you can make sure to specify needs
No,
to
I don't. No, I don't want to. I don't want to. I like just the idea of, I forget how I phrased it in the email, but choose 10 tracks that you'd like to mix,
Yeah.
or however I said it. I think that's good enough. I was not expecting this at all, but I think this was a jolly surprise from what I was expecting.
You get to know the person really well through like what music they choose and what they choose to do with it.
Right, and if one of the goals was to get to know you more musically, if I would have forced you to pick only pop tunes, I feel like that would have been missing a lot of the stuff that you surround yourself with.
Well, it would bring out a different side,
Yeah.
I think, of what I'm hearing. So by giving me carte blanche, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to pick the deep cuts of things that, like, I like listening to Tim Hecker, but it's not everyone's jam.
Hey, this isn't about them. This is about you. All right, so one final question. A show needs structure, and I'm still trying to find out what the heck this structure is, right? I needed gimmicks, whatever. What should my outro thing be? I could ask you, like, what you're excited about in the coming weeks. I could ask you for plugs. Maybe you got some plugs you want to give.
Well, I was going to say, what if you just, like, laid down a mix as your outro?
I could do that. Okay, so I end the show with like a small little dance party in here.
Yeah.
That'd be fun, and that would force
It's
me to
not
actually
serious.
like.
I don't
Okay.
know if I need to plug. Like, I don't know if the point of this show is to plug stuff. It feels like. I mean, I guess every podcast always has like plug your thing at the end.
Right.
But I feel like to end it on an actually good mix that you've worked on. I feel like that would be a good way to end this.
Sure, but let's be clear. I'm actually not good at DJing.
Okay, or you can find your
No, I'll do
favorite
something.
mix of someone.
Yeah, I'll do something here. Do you want to scoot the? Okay, then all right. Here's a good gimmick. The smoke machine is on.
Okay.
It's that red button that sort of looks like the nuclear codes.
Yes.
So whenever you feel like the moment calls for it, feel free to
Okay,
just.
should I take this?
No, keep it on because
Okay.
otherwise you won't hear anything. So here we'll just do. Here you go. Woo. Okay, there we go. All right. Let's see. What's a good? I mean, I've got some mixes that I. Oh gosh, and then the camera. It's like this is the problem with being my height. Sorry, you all. You don't get to see my face. All right, let's go with classic here. Oh, I got to take out your. There we go. Bring it to 68, but bump it up to 80, 70. So there's when you DJ and you're going to bring in the next track, you have this cue button.
Okay.
And usually you have headphones plugged in here, and so you're sort of previewing the next track to see where you want to bring it in. I haven't figured out how to do that while having this set up. So you're going to hear me like doing things, even though like the audience typically would not hear it. Anyway, that's one thing about my setup I still want to fix. Where we're going. So this is an example where I want to take the drums out of one.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the snares are conflicting. Okay, I haven't played this Harry Styles tune in a while.
Which one is it?
Okay. All right, but let me let me start the beginning here. Loop it. Again, I would normally cue this so I can hear it ahead of time.
Did you just add another track in?
What's that?
Did you just add another track in?
Yeah.
It was like, I heard a weird key change, but I don't think there was I think it was just because there was another track on it, so it sounded like there was a key change in harmony. All right, now after this, okay, let me come out of the loop. Okay, I'm going to filter. Yeah. All right, now here's the problem. I'm stuck in like 70 BPM land. I probably should have started the tracks that I'm doing like up in the 90s. Those are the funner ones. Maybe the gimmick is that you have to take one of the tracks from your guest's playlist.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like that. Let me do that. Okay.
That the guest picks.
Oh, that the guest picks? Okay.
Let's see, what haven't we heard? Well, you say you're in the 70s?
Well, no, you can pick any BPM you
No, I
want.
was saying like we could just do we didn't hear the like heavy metal.
Holy crap.
The one that's super complex though. That's too hard. You could end with Charlie XCX.
Okay. I don't know this song. I mean, I listened to it once you sent it to me. Okay, man, this is a fast tune. Right, that's Charlie XCX. Of course it is.
And then I'll just have to turn the smoke machine on.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Don't forget about that. Okay, what do I like? Okay, so
Yeah.
go ahead and turn quantize on. Don't judge me.
There's
Actually,
an amazing scream in this one.
oh yeah?
I think it's like towards the end. Yeah, it's earlier than that. Yeah, you hear that?
There, yeah. That's pretty good. It sort of blends in with the guitar part, or the synth part. Okay, great. So that's Tears. Now let me go back here. What is oh gosh, something up in the 120s. They're both very similar.
Yeah. Something that's half the speed or double. No, I don't think anything's that fast.
Okay, let's go for something contrasting. Oh, I've never DJed this before. I don't have the hot cue set or anything. That's nice. I like that. Okay, hot cue that. Okay, but Okay. Okay, so let's start with Charlie going into Lily Allen. I kind of want to grab that other diddly-lint. Let's do that. We're going to grab that just as like an ancillary kind of hot cue. I'll do it there. I'll show you why in a moment. I've seen some people color stuff now, but like, I don't know, sometimes you just want the audience to hear the track. Like you chose this track because you like it.
Yeah.
You kind of don't want me to like step in on it and
I mean,
do
I've heard it many times, though.
Yeah. And I could actually put that on another deck, so I could be playing that on top of it.
When you do it enough, it starts to like take on a character.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Especially that anacrusis leading into the one. But she's already doing enough as it is. Okay. That scream is pretty intense. Okay, I think I'm going to let this play out. And that next big formal change coming up here in a few bars. There's going to be some key conflicts here, but I'm going to not be too concerned about that. Yeah, that was a simple transition. Do you know this song?
No, I don't.
Oh man, I love this song. What is this, like 2014? And the video is like her getting liposuction in plastic surgery, like really grotesque. Yeah.
Oh, then you could just transpose that scream on top of it, right?
That would, but I need to isolate
No, I know.
that scream.
I'm just
Yeah.
thinking like
Oh, right.
conceptually.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was.
Scream now.
Yeah. And then also just like, so this is pretty good, like Hard Out Here for a Bitch.
There's also some instrument in the back of it that sounds, it's like the same timbre as like Caroline Polachek's Scream. It's like something in the back.
So then there's later on, I think she starts saying bitch even more and more rhythmically than she is now. There we are. Yeah, and then this could be like a good ostinato. But it's kind of like what you're saying about like, layers of meaning.
Yeah. Yeah.
This tune has an obvious like argument that it's making.
Yeah.
I did okay there.
Well,
that was all right.
For the next time, or if you want this to be the gimmick.
Yeah, no, that's a good
There's
gimmick.
many gimmicks that you could do.
That's a good gimmick. I like that. Cool. Well, thanks. Should we end the stream?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boom. Bye, audience of
You're like dead mouse
3.
with like no head.
I know. Bye.